Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you could join us for tonight's Tech Topics. I am joined once again by our pal Andre, who's going to tell us all about Google Drive and cloud storage basics. And I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Andre now. I'm going to disappear into a cloud of smoke in the background, and I'll be back on later, folks.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, so like she mentioned, our topic for today is Google Drive and cloud storage basics. So some things on the agenda. We're going to be introducing Google Drive if you've never used it before. We're going to be working with some files and folders, learning how to share them with friends, searching for those same files and folders within Google Drive, and then we're going to touch on some more complicated things. Those will kind of be mixed in. Some things that are integrated with like the Google ecosystem. But just very brief shout outs to those things. So moving on. So Google Drive is a cloud storage service that you can use for free. It comes with just a free Gmail account. It allows you to store files there at a distance. So it's not integrated into your computer at all. It's just it's saved on a server elsewhere. You're allowed to access it from anywhere, anytime, so long as you have a device that can actually access it via the internet. So you can share files with others and access files that are shared with you. And the basic, plan starts out at 15 gigs for free. It just comes with your Gmail account. You can add more storage as you go, though. Some things to consider with your drive. Once again, only 15 gigs. That's a reasonable amount for free. It's a decent sized USB, but you can access it anywhere. You can access it on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, so long as it has a Wi-Fi connection. Emails and attachments in Gmail do count towards that limit. So any pictures, any videos and stuff like that that you might have stored in your email, any documents, those count towards that 15 gigs. Any files that you create in Google Docs or Slides or any of their other productivity ecosystem tools, those don't count towards the limit at all. So the things that do count are your emails and attachments and any actual documents that you save into Drive. The things that don't count are the things that you create using Google tools. So like Docs, Slides, Sheets. This might just kind of sound like a blur to you. I'll make sure to show you what those are, but just bear in mind that those specific things, Docs, Slides, and Sheets, don't count towards that storage limit. Once again, you can increase the storage limit if you do end up hitting up against that 15 gig limit. It is for a small monthly fee, but hopefully you won't be experiencing that, or if you do, go for it. So file compatibility. Drive can basically store any kind of file under the sun. It honestly doesn't care what you store in there to some degree. But so long as it's just a functional and healthy file, it should be able to store it, no problem. Microsoft Office files can also be stored in there and converted to Google Docs files and vice versa. So if you have a Google Docs file that you created in Drive and you wanted to export it to Word, you can do that, no problem. That kind of comes up a little later. Just going to briefly go over that, but just thought we should mention it now. Some common terminology that we'll probably get around to saying at some point during this demo. The first of which is navigation pane or panel. Many of you might not know what a file system is, but basically that's what Drive is. It's just a system that contains your files and it allows you to sort them out. There are certain shortcuts that are allowed on there, and those shortcuts would usually be used as a navigation pane or panel. Typically, it's a menu that allows you to navigate that system, to navigate through all the ways that you sorted your files. In Drive, it's going to be on the left side of the screen. We'll see that in just a second. The next one is context menu. So it's a special menu that has a special function per specified action or object. Sounds a little complicated, but basically, if you click on something, if it brings up a menu, it's going to be specific to that object or that file or that folder. We'll see a little more of this in the more actions menu in Drive. It's really useful. Okay. The next one is metadata. So this is basically just information about information. So like you have a file and it has like a date stamp or something like that on it. That's metadata. This is usually found in the details or in activity options in Drive. We'll go over that in just a second as well. And then finally is backwards compatible. So when I mentioned that you can take a Word file and convert it to a Google Doc file and a Google Doc file and just convert it back to a Word file, that's technically backwards compatibility. It's the ability to take one file and use it between two different software without having to convert it any extraneous amount of times. um, there isn't exactly one-to-one, but it is functionally the same thing. We'll show that in just a second. So taking it from here, I am going to open up my Gmail. For many of you, this is probably where you're going to start out. You're going to go onto your Google account, and then you're just going to open up your Gmail, and this is what you're going to see. So from here, in the top right, there's these 9 dots. If I hover over it to the top right, it says Google Apps. We're going to click on that. And there's a ton of different tools here in the Google ecosystem. You scroll down, you can see some of the other ones like Docs, Sheets, and Slides. We're going to ignore those for now. We're just going to click on this triangle here that's labeled Drive. And that's going to open up our Google Drive. So as you can see here, it's pretty blank. This is a new Drive account, so that's to be expected. So over to the left over here is our navigation pane. For now, my Drive is highlighted because that's where we're at. That's where it's always going to open up when you open up your Drive directly from your Gmail. Below that is computers. This is basically a list of all devices that you have synced up to your Drive. Currently, I don't have anything synced up here, so there's nothing else to really click on. Below that is shared with me. These are files that people share with you, or files that are able to be opened from other users. You can probably come across those just browsing the internet occasionally. They'll show up here. Recent, start, spam, and trash. Somewhat similar to kind of like your email folders. So recent are going to be ones that you've just recently opened. Start are going to be like your favorites. Spam or spam, junk mail, junk files, stuff like that. Your trash, and then below that is storage. If we click on this, it's going to show us like how our storage breaks down, just in case we did need to like tidy up anything. For now, because it's a new account, it should be fine. And below that, it gives you an actual reading of how much space you've used using your Drive. And below that, right here in blue, if I clicked on this, get more storage, it would give me options to buy more storage just in case down the line. So we're going to click back on my Drive. And we're going to look at some of the other features that we have here. So right up top where it says My Drive, this is typically going to be like the file folder that you're in, because this is like the root of my Drive. This is like the base level. This is all it says, My Drive. If I had multiple folders or something like that, or if I was exploring through folders, it would have like an actual chain of different folders going further down, explicitly telling me where along the line I am in my storage. So like if I had My Drive and then one of these other folders, cool stuff for my stuff was open, it'd be My Drive, cool stuff. Below that, I can sort things as I want by file type, by people, specifically people that have sent things to me or myself, and when was the last time things were modified in a file. Up top here is my suggested folder, or my suggested files, rather. These are things that Google Drive just thinks I might use now that I'm here. Below that is folders. If you had multiples, they would stack along here. And below that is files. Once again, I can actually sort these according to direction, name, and any other words. So up top to the right, where this I is, I can click on this and view details. We'll get into that a little more a little later. And then right here, where it says list layout to the top right, now that I'm hovering over it. If I clicked on this, it'll change how my drive looks. It'll give me an actual list of stuff that's in my drive. If I hover over it again, it's going to say grid layout. It's just going to change the way that my drive appears. To the top right, further to the top right rather, once again is my user account, my Google Apps, my settings, and then any kind of support that I might need. At the very top here, we have a search bar. I can click on it. It'll bring this drop down. I can search specifically for a different file type, different folders. I can click on advanced search down here where it says advanced search, or these sliders up to the top right of the search bar. Now that I'm hovering over it, you can see that it says advanced search. If I click on that, I can once again search for anything that I specify. We'll get a little more into that later. And then to the top left, right below where it says drive, there's this new button with a giant plus sign on it. If I click on that, I have tons of options of what I can do within Drive, specifically to file sorting and just management, stuff like that. So the first thing that we're going to do is upload a file. So did that a little quickly there. I'm going to click new and then hover over file upload and click on that. I'm going to go to my USB drive. And I am going to, let's say I'm going to upload Fiero code FAQ. You'll notice down to the bottom right here, there's a little status bar. Because the file isn't too big, it uploaded rather quickly. I can minimize this just in case I have multiple things going. I can maximize it just to see what's going on. It looks like it's open. That's all good to go. I can close it and now it's gone. If I scroll down further into my drive, I can see that the file has been uploaded and it's right here. Pretty cool, right? Another neat thing that you can do. So I'm going to upload another file or a couple files. So go back to new. Going to click on file upload again. And I'm going to highlight two of these files right here. Instead of clicking open, I can just drag and drop them. And so long as I see this blue background and then this highlighted, I guess, bubble down at the bottom that says drop files to upload them, I can just drop them. And then at the bottom right, you'll see the status bar once again, where it's going to take a little longer because these are bigger files, but you're going to see that they're loading into Drive. So I'm going to close this real quick. All right. So you've got things going. You've got a couple files in here. Say that I wanted to organize things a little more. Now that I have a couple more files and I want to, make things a little less confusing for myself, I'm going to click new once again up in the top left, and then I'm going to click new folder. And right here, it's going to bring up this menu, and I can type in what I want to name this folder. Cooler stuff. That should work for now. Once I've actually named my folder, I can go down to where it says create and click on that. And this folder is going to pop up over here in the file, in the folders area. I'm going to minimize this so you guys can get a better look. So cool stuff, cooler stuff, the one that I just made, and then my stuff. Pretty cool. So say that I wanted to create one more file. I go to new, up at the top left again. And if you noticed, down at the bottom here, at the bottom of this menu, you have docs, sheets, slides, forms, more, which are going to open up more productivity programs that Google offers. These are all the different docs kind of tools that you can use. These are the things that I mentioned that provide backwards compatibility for Word and basically any Microsoft Office suite program. If I felt like it, I can just immediately create a docs file right here. So I'm going to click on that, and then it opens up this file immediately. Briefly, I'm just going to type in a word, people. Simple, easy. Something that you'll notice is that anytime that you type something in here, it's going to autosave. You're going to see up at the top right here where I'm hovering, where it says see document status. As soon as I type something, it's going to save it to the drive. Once I'm done with this document, I'm going to click on this little blue piece of paper that says Docs Home, and that's going to take me back to Docs. If I wanted to see this in Drive, though, I'm going to close this tab. I'm going to go back to Drive, and then the next time that my Drive upload or reloads, I'm going to see that document somewhere in my Drive. Let's see. So let's see, actions, open this preview. Oh, wrong one. Open with preview. People. Pretty cool. So once again, now that I have some more files in my drive and I have some good folders to actually sort things into, if I felt inclined to, I can drop. Hold on one second. Yep. All right. So creating these subfolders. Hold on one second. All right. So as you can see, the default color for slide or for folders are pretty dark gray, and they're pretty indistinguishable from one another. If I wanted to actually change things up, just like this green folder over here for my stuff, I can actually have that ability to organize things by color. The way that you would do that is you click on one of the folders, and a cool thing actually to note is if you click on a folder or a file, up here where I'm able to filter files, it actually brings up a different menu up here. This, in a way, is a context menu, not the one that we specifically mentioned before, but it is related. So up at the top, there's a menu here. If I click on these three dots down here where it says more actions, it basically brings up that same menu. You'll notice that there's a lot of the same symbols there. Same thing, basically. But if I wanted to organize, I would go down on the menu where it says organize. And you can see there's move, add shortcut, add to start, and then there's folder color. So this folder color thing is only specific to folders. I can only change colors of folders. Can't do that with files. Files only list what type of file it is by the icon, but I'll point to that in just a second. So yeah, folder color. I feel like using orange, and now I can tell the difference between these three different folders at a glance. Cool stuff is going to be orange. Cooler stuff is just this dark gray by default, and then my stuff is going to be green. Yeah. And as I mentioned, in the top left corner of every file, you're going to have a little symbol that designates what type of file it is. So over here, it's a docs. Over here in the middle is a PDF. And then to the far right, Fiero Code FAQ, it's going to be a Word document with this W. Okay, so we're going to go back to this more actions menu right here. And you're going to be using this thing a lot if you're going to be managing a lot of files and folders in here. So actually, just to give you guys a quick look, once again, I'm clicking on File. This context menu pops up. I'm going to hover over the three dots and get more actions, and the same menu kind of pops up. There are a little more smaller details that are changed. Like if I hover over organize, the colors thing isn't going to be there, like I mentioned. It's just specific to files or specific to folders, just so that you can organize things a little easier. All right, so now that I'm hovering over this file and I'm in organize, I'm going to try to move this file into a folder. So now that I clicked on move, it brings up this other menu, and it's asking me where I want to move it to. So here's the suggested things. There's starred, which is just going to be your favorites if you wanted to move it there, and all locations, which is going to bring up every single folder that you have on Drive. We don't really need to worry about that now. For now, we're just going to stick with something that's suggested. I'm going to choose cooler stuff. It's going to ask me down at the bottom if I really want to move things. Just move. And then it's going to tell me in the bottom left over here that it has been moved. If I wanted to, I can click undo, and then it'll stop the whole process. If I wanted to, I can click that X and it will just drop away. Now that it's in cooler stuff, I can double click on cooler stuff, and here's my file, Fiero Code. And as mentioned at the top, my drive, and then cooler stuff. Say I did wanted to actually organize something so that it would be in my starred folder or, my favorites. I'm going to go back to where it says more actions on the file or folder, these three dots. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go down to where it says organize, and then I'm going to click on add to starred. Bottom left again shows me the update to drive, one file added to starred. I can undo it, or I can just click this X and dismiss the whole message. Coming back to our navigation menu, or our navigation pane or panel to the left over here, I mentioned before that some of these tabs are similar to your folders in email or in your Gmail account. Once again, there's recent, starred, spam, and trash. So starred are going to be like your favorite items. If you find yourself working on a specific file or folder like consistently and you don't want to dig through your drive, just keep scrolling down trying to find it, you can add it to your starred, and that way you can just go to your navigation panel, click on starred, and then those files and folders will be right there immediately. Yeah, just because I added this specific file to starred, it shows up here now. That's all good to go. Back to more actions. I wanted to see some specific information about this file. I wanted to see some metadata about this file. I'm going to click on more actions. I'm going to go down to where it says file information, and you're going to see all these different options. I'm going to show file location. This is specific to me being in starred. If I was in the actual file location, that wouldn't show up. I can look at manage versions, and I can lock the file for editing. For now, I'm just going to pay attention to details and activity though. Clicking on details, it's going to bring up this menu to the right over here. I get a little brief, thumbnail of the document. And if I scroll down, it's going to provide me all this metadata about the file. Who has access to the file, which is myself, because I uploaded it just recently. It's going to tell me what file details there are, what type of file it is, how big it is, what location it's at, who's the owner, when the last time when it was modified, all these good things that we need to know about the file. If I click on activity, it's going to show me a breakdown of all the actual things that have happened to the file since I've uploaded it. Going to give you a timestamp and a date. This is good for basically managing like previous versions or anything like that. Say you made an edit to something and then you want to go back to something, or you wanted to see when it was edited, you can come over to here, check activity, and see specifically when something happened. If I wanted to dismiss this menu, I can go over here to this top, to the top right, hover over this X, and it's going to say hide details. I'm going to click on that, and I'm just going to go back to normal. Say I wanted to actually preview this file just in case I wanted to make sure that it was the correct file, something that I was stumbling through just a little while ago. I'm going to show you the proper way to do it. So once again, we're going to hover over more actions, and I'm going to come up to here where it says open with. So because this is a file and not a folder, it's going to offer me some different options, some suggested apps, stuff like that are connected through Drive and Google Docs. We don't really have to pay attention to those for now. The only two that you really might need to pay attention to if you're just like a beginning user are Preview and Google Docs. I say Google Docs just in case you need to edit it, but otherwise it's mainly just Preview. I'm going to go over to Open With, and I'm going to click on Preview, just like I did before. And it's going to bring up this kind of, environment is probably the best way to describe it. At the top here, it's going to give me the name of the document. It's going to give me a close arrow to the left over here. If I click on that, it's just going to go back to Drive. In the middle here, it's going to ask, or it's going to tell me, or it's going to offer me the ability to open in Google Docs. If I do this drop down, I can do the same thing as before, where I can open it with other apps. We're going to ignore that for now. To the top right, I can add a comment, I can print it, or I can download the actual file. And then once again, there's this more actions tab. I can click on that, and then those similar options on Google Drive will appear here as well. So share, move, remove, rename, find details, everything's good like that. I can scroll through the document just to kind of get a view of what it is. You can navigate it like any other PDF. And if I don't want to look at it anymore, I can go over back over to this left arrow, click close, or I can just click in any of the empty space, this empty dark space, and then it'll just close from there. So now that we're actually getting a little, hands-on with things, say I wanted to export something from Drive. So say that I saved something on Drive, but now I need it off of Drive and need it to be on my computer. The way that you would do that is by downloading it. So I'm back in my Drive with all the other files. I'm going to go back down to Files. I'm going to go and hover over More Actions one more time. And at the very top here, right below Open With, is going to be Download. It's going to be this down arrow with like the little, I guess it looks like a system tray or something like that. We're going to click on this, and on the bottom left, it's going to give me an actual like update of what's happening with Drive. And then below that, it's going to show me that the document has been downloaded in my OS. So something to note that you may or may not know, when you download a file to your computer and you make any edits, make sure that you save it. Some people may confuse Google Docs with Word and vice versa. Google Docs by default auto saves everything, as I mentioned before. However, if you're working with something on your actual computer in Word, that same feature isn't always on by default. So if you make any edits, just make sure to manually save it yourself so that you can prevent any loss of data. Now that it's done and I have it saved on my device, say I want to actually delete it from Drive. So once again, I'm going to hover over this More Actions button. I'm going to click on it. And then at the very bottom, it's going to say Move to Trash. It's at the very bottom because it's something that you typically don't want to always do, just to prevent yourself from doing it on accident. But it's at the very bottom here. If I click on Move to Trash, bottom left over here, it's going to tell me that the file has been moved to trash. I can undo it or I can dismiss this menu. If I wanted to see it in trash, I would come over to the left here to my navigation panel and then hover over trash. It's going to say trashed items. I'm going to click on that. And here's the file again. Something to note, something very, very important to note. So any files that you delete or anything that you put in the trash in Drive, it will stay here for 30 days before it is permanently deleted. So it's kind of in like a limbo for the time being. It's still in your Drive, but it's on its way out. If you want to make any changes to it, or if you want to keep it, make sure that you restore it before those 30 days are done. If you wanted to get rid of it before those 30 days, there's this option. So on this gray bar where it says items in trash will be deleted forever after 30 days. So the far right over here, another case where it's very far removed from everything else because you typically don't want to do this on accident. It's going to say empty trash. If I clicked on this, literally every file that's been in my trash will just be gone, deleted permanently. We're going to avoid that for now. I'm going to click on this file once again, and it's going to bring up another context menu up here. This time, it has a little clock and a little trash can. Once again, little trash can says delete forever. It basically serves the same function as this empty trash button all the way to the right. And this little clock with a backwards arrow, or a counterclockwise arrow rather, it helps you restore from trash. If I click on this, the file is going to disappear. The bottom left here says restored untitled document. I can click show file location. It's going to take me back to Drive, and it's going to show me that the file has been restored. It's no longer in trash. It's no longer on its way out to be deleted. Pretty cool, right? All right. So say I wanted to share a file with a friend. We're going to be working on things together. I'm going to click on more actions once again. And down at the bottom here, or near the bottom, is going to be this little person with like a plus sign, and it's going to say share. When I hover over this, it's going to bring up two different options. There's share and then copy link. Functionally, copy link, you don't need to worry about that. It's more of a shortcut. If I clicked on it, it would provide me a link for that specific item that I can share with friends via email. But if I click on share, it's basically going to do the same thing. It's going to bring up this menu. It's going to ask me who do I want to have access to this file. By default, you always do. I can add people if I wanted to, and then there's different restrictions that I can add. So general access, restricted, only people with access can open with the link. Basically, if they're on this list, they're the only ones that can open a link. If I clicked on the down arrow and changed this to anyone with a link, as long as they have a link and I sent it to them, they can open it. They don't need to be on this list with people with access. So something to note, if you're going to be sharing things with people, just make sure that you're sharing with people that you trust. Whether they are on this people with access list or otherwise, just make sure that they're people that you trust. All right. And then at the bottom here, once again, you'll see copy link. If I clicked on that, it'll say link copied. It does the same, functionally does the same thing as that other option does on the more actions menu. But yeah, I'm going to click done. And if I added anybody to that list, they would have been sent an email with a link to the file to edit or to view. All right, so say that it's the other way around and somebody wants to share a file with you. So they shared a file with me. Like I said, it would have sent me an email with a link to actually edit the file. So I'm going to come back to my Gmail. Look at that. It looks like somebody has shared a file with me. So I'm going to click on the email. It's going to say this person has shared a document, has invited me to edit the following documents. And down at the bottom here, it tells me who the owner is, when it was last edited, and it gives me the option to open, either by clicking this thumbnail or by clicking this button down at the bottom here, this blue button. And click on that, and it's going to open up in Docs. All right, so once again, just reiterating, if you or anybody is sharing anything, just make sure it's with people that you trust. All right. All right. I'm going to come back to Drive. And we're going to get a little more into searching for files. So in the search bar here, with the magnifying glass and search and Drive, we already saw that it brings up this drop down. I can look specifically for specific file types. So if I wanted to, I can click on Documents, and it'll weed out every other type of file except for what are essentially Word and Google Doc documents. You can tell by the symbols up in the top left, a Word document, a Google Doc document. I can close that. I can view only folders. And, you know, I can look back on previous searches as well. If I wanted to get a little more specific about my search, say that I have hundreds of different file types, different folders in my drive, I can go into advanced search and look for something a little more specific. So I can look up by file type again. I can go by owner, specifically if it's a file that I made or if somebody else is sharing it with me and they've made it. I can look for specific words that are in the file's name or the folder's name, location, anywhere that, you know, if I have a device that's synced up with Drive or something like that, I can check to see that specific location. If it's in the trash, starred, encrypted, date modified, all these very, very, very niche details that I can look up specifically to, you know, narrow and provide better clarity for my search. I can also just reset it and then start over again. All right. So now that we've kind of had a crash course, if you felt like it, you don't need to. You can always, you know, just not do this. At the top right over here where this gear is, we can take a look at the settings for Drive. When I click on it, it brings up settings, get Drive for desktop, and keyboard shortcuts. If you wanted to be a pro at Drive, keyboard shortcuts would be the way to go. But if not, you can just ignore those. That's all good. Get Drive for desktop, you can ignore that for now, unless you're going to be really, really productive with Drive. We're going to click on settings. And when I click on settings, it's going to offer general notifications and manage apps. I'm just going to get this out of the way. I'm going to click on manage apps. It's just going to show me all the different kind of Google tools that are integrated into Drive and into Docs and into your Gmail. You don't necessarily need to mess around with these. You can honestly just ignore them, because functionally, if you're just using this for the basics of just file storage, these won't come into your view at all. We're going to click back on general. At the top, it's going to say storage. I can buy more storage. I can view what's actually taking up my storage. Density is going to basically change up how your Drive appears. Comfortable, cozy, and compact kind of determine how far apart your actual icons are from one another. So if I went with comfortable, it would give them a little more space from one another. They're set at cozy. They were kind of close to each other. Compact is going to make them as close as possible. It is really only just for like the sake of scrolling up and down through your Drive. If you're good enough at searching through your Drive, it really doesn't make much of a difference, but it is there for the sake of appearance and visuals. So uploads, convert uploads to docs editor formats. So like if I wanted to upload a Microsoft Word document, it would just immediately get converted into Google Docs. I can do stuff offline, suggested files. I can turn this on or off. Doesn't particularly matter. Language. Here we would be able to change what the actual language is within your Drive. You can do that if you need to. And privacy, manage search history. This will be stuff. This I'm pretty sure would be global to your Google account if you did anything to it. Just be aware. I'm going to click on notifications over here, and there's not much here. Browser, it basically, if anything happens to your Drive while you're in your browser, you would get an actual notification via browser. If anything happens to your Drive, down here where it says email, same thing. If anything happens to your Drive, you'll get an email basically specifying that. All right, let's go back, and that's, as far as I remember, more or less everything in this crash course of Google Drive. So let's go back. You there, Lisa?
I am. I'm getting those slides back up for folks. So remember, if you have any questions, go ahead and type those into the chat box. Let's get that camera back on here. All right, so go ahead and get those questions in. While you're typing those, Andre is going to go through a couple of resources for us to help you learn more about this topic.
All right, so if you wanted to get more, let's say you wanted to use it more professionally, or if you just wanted to learn it in like a capacity that you'd be able to use it as a business tool, we do offer different courses on LinkedIn Learning. Of course, you can always just look up Google Drive and LinkedIn Learning, and it should just bring up a steady bevy diet of different courses available.
They're always updating that, so if you don't find the right thing right away, check back. And another thing that's fun about looking it up on LinkedIn Learning is you can change between beginners and advanced kind of content, so you can really fine tune what kind of learning resources you find on there.
Yes, so aside from that, you can go straight to the source. Back on Drive, there was that little icon that had this little question mark next to the gear for settings. If you clicked on that, it would bring you back into Google Help. That's basically the support channel for Google. If you had any issues with any of their tools, whether it's Chrome, whether it's Gmail, YouTube, Drive, Google Docs, that's the place to go for anything very, very, very specific. But yeah,
fair enough. Might as well go to the folks that made it, right?
Yeah, but even if you had any quick questions, there should be a frequently asked document that should point you to the right direction.
That's true. I find a lot of my good tips when I'm trying to figure stuff out on that FAQ on whatever I'm using.
Yeah.
All right. So we don't have a lot of questions coming in just yet, but I do see one, and folks are asking what other kind of cloud saving document saving options are there? Is it mostly just Google, or are there other resources out there that they can use to save their stuff to the cloud?
There's other resources. As far as like professional use, there's OneDrive. There's iCloud. iCloud is more the Apple specific one. OneDrive is Microsoft, correct? There are other third-party ones like Mega and trying to think of any others off the top of my head. But they would more than often require a subscription to use more than just like the basic package, which would probably be just the same as Google Drive, a handful of gigs, and then once you exceed that, you would have to pay for more. But
that's a good point. That there are probably a lot of the tools that we already use. Whatever service we use for our email probably has cloud storage attached to it somehow, depending on how big it is. That's a good point for us to remind folks that read those terms and conditions when you agree to sign up for it, and make sure that you know how much of your information you're allowing them to have access to.
Mm-hmm. Always a good thing. But yeah, as far as those two go, OneDrive and iCloud, those are probably going to be the two others that are probably used the most. So you'll probably find a lot more information on those out there if you needed to look up anything specific. Just like if you needed support for Google Drive, those two would probably have the most documentation for that as well.
And if you're using the library computers at one of our branches, you can always ask one of us if you're having trouble finding it while you're logged into a library computer. Flag down one of your local branch staff members and they can help you get to the right area for whatever service you're logged into. All right, Andre, I think that wraps up our questions for today. Thank you so much for helping us get through this topic. It's a lot of information, and you did a great job of breaking it down and making it make more sense and how to find it and use it. Thank you.
No problem. It's honestly a lot to take in all at once. Just try to take it piecemeal. Practice. That's more or less it.
That's fair. Practice and make sure you know who you're sharing with. That's my takeaway for today.
Yes.
All right, folks, if you have any questions later on, you can reach us at hcplc.org/contact or give us a call at 813-273-3652. On that contact page, we also have that super awesome Ask a Librarian function where you can text or chat instead of calling us. We hope to see you back here soon. We have cybersecurity basics coming up, and I just realized I have the wrong date on here, folks. My apologies, because that is in November. So we don't have one scheduled for October. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up in October, especially if you're getting ready for the solar eclipse that's happening. But yes, our next tech topics will be on Tuesday, November 28th. So that last Tuesday in November, I believe. Andre, you are leading that one as well, aren't you?
I believe.
Am I remembering right? Okay, awesome. So we will have our VIP presenter back for that. Yep, we are November 28th at 6 p.m. And as always, you can find our previously recorded tech topics on the library's YouTube channel. There is a quick and easy link to that on hcplc.org/tech topics. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope to see you back in November for another tech topic, but keep an eye on the library calendar for all kinds of great programs coming up in branches and online, hcplc.org/events. We hope to see you soon. Take care, folks.